go! Welcome to the official Guns Up Nation podcast, the premier voice for the fearless fans of Raiderland.
He's the one! Red Raider! Unbelievable!
The Scarlet and Black are back on the Final Four Club, and they hail from Lubbock, Texas.
Let's meet today's hosts.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome into another installment of the Guns Up Nation podcast. I'm RC Maxfield alongside Tobias Bass down in H-Town. Tobias, how you doing, man?
Doing well, man. We're just going through some crazy stuff in the world right now. Just hopefully everyone's being safe and staying healthy.
Absolutely. On today's show, we're going to talk about Texas Tech volleyball, Texas Tech soccer, as they venture a little bit up north to Norman, Oklahoma, to play OU, and hopefully they can get their first win of the season in Big 12 play. And then we're obviously going to have to talk about Texas Tech football and how they head up north just a little bit further to play in the Little Apple, and hopefully they can get their first Big 12 win of the year against the Kansas State Wildcats, excuse me. But first, Tobias, let's start with a fun story. So we have it on the website right now. Kobe, our guy that makes all our graphics and stuff and makes us look good in the videos, he sent a thing in a chat him and I are in with Michael, and would you believe it if I told you Patrick Mahomes has the highest selling MLB jersey?
I definitely wouldn't have believed it. And that doesn't even make sense. Obviously, he's a football player, but that's crazy.
It's true.
Who's second?
That's what I'm getting to right now. But Patrick Mahomes,
I want to know
I'm sure you could probably guess him in terms of who's second on the list.
It's a guy from the Angels.
No, not Mike Trout.
Not Trout.
Also, that's an embarrassment that you did not know who Mike Trout was. Not on you. I know you know who he is, but it is embarrassment on baseball that he is not the Michael Jordan of our time right now.
Oh yeah, no Trout. He's a sicko. I watched him play a few times in person. He's amazing.
But you're in the right city.
So it got to be the Dodgers.
Yeah. Well, that's the only other team in the town, Tobias.
Yeah.
Got traded from Boston.
He's I know his name. I know his name too. Don't I know his name.
Are you willing to put a bet on it?
He's cold. He's very cold.
Yeah, are you willing to put a bet that you know his name?
I know his name. It's
I just told you his name.
What you just say?
Bets.
Mookie Betts. No.
He's second.
He's different.
He's second.
How much does it say? How much the gap is?
It doesn't say the gap. No. And I'll shout out the guy that we saw the tweet from. It was at KC_fun. His name is Ryan D. He tweeted it, and that's kind of crazy. If you want to get more details on it, go over to the website gunsupnation.com. We mentioned Texas Tech volleyball. They're up north in Ames right now. They're down 2-1 right now to the number 13 team in the country, the Iowa State Cyclones. Texas Tech, we talked about them last time. They split with West Virginia in their first two matches of the year back in Lubbock this past weekend. Texas Tech's got a little bit of growth to Tobias, but I really like the two transfers. I know you probably haven't gotten a chance to see them, and if you have, please tell me I'm wrong. But the two transfers, I really like them in Blouse. And then the name escapes me right now from Texas A&M. I believe her name is Savannah.
Yeah, I haven't watched them a lot right now, but I mean, I think they split with West Virginia, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, they split with them. They kind of, I don't know, they kind of give me headaches too sometimes because you see the potential. You see they're young. I guess they're not really young anymore, but they're middle-aged to older now, so you'd like to see them try to get over their hump. But the Big 12, they're a very good volleyball conference. They have a ton of ranked teams, every year, and so hopefully they can get over this hump and bounce back. But they are playing a very good Iowa State team.
Yeah, no, and it's Samantha Sanders. I should get her name right before I even try and guess. That's the first rule in broadcasting: never guess a name. But no, Samantha Sanders. She transferred from Texas A&M. And then I really, and I mean really like this girl that came from Washington State. Mm-hmm. I really like what she can bring to the table for Texas Tech because Blouse is her name. She was a true freshman last year at Washington State for the Cougars, transferred back closer to home, and now she has a pretty integral role. I'm not trying to say she's taking the Emily Hill role because I don't think anybody can take that role. I mean, that's arguably the greatest player in program history, in Emily Hill. But I like her activity, and I think, maybe not this year, but I think next year she can take that jump to where maybe she's getting preseason all Big 12 honors and then hopefully finishing there as well. But as of right now for the Red Raiders up in Ames, they are down 2-1 in the fourth set right now. Iowa State does lead at 14-13. We'll keep you updated on that. Let's move over to Texas Tech soccer, though, Tobias. They've struggled out of the gate. High expectations. Everybody's going to bring their best. That goes for any sport. Texas Tech got a tie in their first game of the year. And then last weekend they lost to the number 9 Kansas Jayhawks by a score of 1-0 up in Lawrence. They now head up to Norman to try to get their first win of the year. I mean, if they're going to want to win the Big 12, Tobias, especially with that Kansas win against them, they're probably going to have to finish strong and, win out.
Win out, yeah. Almost they're going to have to win out. Unfortunately, at the beginning of the year they were dealing with some COVID cases, and that kind of. And I know Coach don't want to have any excuses, but I know that affects your team. Practice time. Having to, not being around your teammates. But hopefully, high expectations were for this team. Hopefully, they can bounce back. It's kind of far-fetched to say that they will win out, but they definitely have the talent to do so.
Yeah, it's all going to be about health, and the COVID front, and then just normal injuries that happen in soccer. But I expect them to come out tonight, floor down, foot on the gas, no holds barred, and they're just going for it because they realize now that there's no postseason. I mean, I know that they realized that beforehand, right, obviously, but that Kansas game was huge because it was basically them in Kansas who was going to win the Big 12, and now they got the upper hand on you. You need help. And Texas Tech, and you mentioned him already, Coach Stone, they don't like to make excuses. That's a no-excuse program, and I can promise you, and the game's on Fox Sports Oklahoma tonight. And you'll be able to watch it if you're in Lubbock, and should be able to watch it on the Fox Sports app if you have that as well, the Fox Sports Go app, I should say. I expect them to come out, and I would not be surprised if they just put the pedal down and they scored 2 goals in the first half and do not look back against the Sooners because, you hear some of the press conferences that Coach Stone had, a couple of the players had this week, and you could tell that they're always level-headed in that program, right? Coach Stone likes to make fun of people. We all know that. He's a fun guy. But when it comes down to business, Coach Stone is all about business. And you could tell in his press conferences he was just not having anything other than just straight focus this week. And, when that usually happens, they go out and they blow teams out. So I expect Texas Tech to come out and just absolutely dominate Oklahoma tonight. I'm not saying Oklahoma's a bad team because they're not. They're projected to finish middle of the pack in the Big 12. But I expect them to come out and Texas Tech truly show who they are tonight.
Right, I agree. I think they come out because, like you said, when Coach Stone, when he gets focused, those girls focus. They know how serious he is and how he can be. And I think they know what's at stake. They know that we need help, but we only can control our own destiny. So we have to win out going forward. I think that's what they're going to try and plan to do every game going forward.
Yeah, no, I'm really interested to see. I didn't get to see a lot of the game last weekend. I don't know if you did, but I really want to see potentially Coach Stone because he loves to run. Obviously, the goalie back in the back, so there's 10, but he really loves to run that 4-4-2, right?
Yeah.
Really loves it. Kind of a hybrid, actually, where it's like a 2-2, a little further back, 2 in the middle, but technically it's 4, and then obviously the 4 on the back line. I really want to see if Coach Stone, if he just wants to come out fully aggressive, and we know how he is, if he just kind of, throws caution to the wind at some point this year, and he's like, I'm throwing Jade out there, I'm throwing Allie, and I'm throwing Kirsten Davis out on the field at one time just to see what happens because there's no team in the country, and I mean absolutely no team in the country that could compete with that on that back line.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would do it too. I mean, I would just do it just to see, see what happens. You have 3 girls like that can score like that. I mean, I would do even if they can play off of each other because you just have so many options at that point. It makes your offense just a lot tougher because you can't guard all 3 of them. There's nothing really you can do. Yeah, so if the girls are being, especially they're like communicating and sharing the ball, there's nothing you can do with the defense.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how that all works out because you look at what Texas Tech did against Kansas. Again, number 9 team in the country. And it doesn't get much easier after this. You talked about how these good teams are, especially in volleyball, Tobias. Soccer's the same way. Texas Tech right now, if you exclude Baylor, their first game of the year, they're going to play 3 ranked teams in a row. They obviously – or not 3 ranked teams in a row, 3 out of the next 4. They played at Kansas, obviously lost that one, at Oklahoma. But then when they head back to Walker Soccer Complex, it's going to be the number 4 team in the country, the West Virginia Mountaineers coming in, and then they go to TCU the next weekend. So this is going to be a really big test these next couple of weeks for the Red Raiders to see if they actually are going to live up to the hype and, really have everything going and clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this conference is really, really good at soccer, so they know what's at stake. But I think I'll trust them. It's just, I mean, like you said, we didn't think scoring would be an issue for this team. Hopefully they can, for them when it rains, it pours. They start seeing, shots going in consistent. I think that's when they're really going to start to see the team, take off. But I just think they need to see a couple of them go first to just boost their confidence going forward. But, I mean, Coach will definitely have them prepared going forward, though. He'll have them prepared, and I know he'll have them, mentally, focused. But, the times we're living in right now is tough. The girls, they're not living a normal life. You're already as a student athlete, you're not living a normal life, but it's also harder when you can't see your other friends, you can't hang out, you can't do certain things. It's hard. Yeah. So you have to, reason with them with that, but also keep them focused on their studies and soccer. So I feel for them the same sense, but I know Coach will have them ready.
And it's weird now looking at the box scores. Jade King and Allie Griffin have not played a single minute this year for Texas Tech so far. So you got to wonder maybe they obviously missed the first game. They obviously missed the second one too. Maybe there's lingering effects. Maybe they're just trying to work them in back from injury, giving them proper amount of time. Obviously, Jade King had that serious knee injury last year that cost her season, and she got to come back. And Allie Griffin was thinking about playing last year, but then she had surgery as well. So it's going to be interesting to see if they actually get to see the field this year, because I would love, as we talked about, to have those 3 on the field at one time and just, all systems go, just see kind of what happens, because there's no back line in the country that could defend those 3 if they're on the field all at one time. Now, the defense might suffer, but that back line is, I'll take my chances when I got Hannah Anderson, Amanda Porter, as well as Cassie Hyatt, the all Big 12 member back there on the back line. So going to be interesting to see if they play tonight. Again, Texas Tech soccer is set to kick off in Norman, Oklahoma at 7 p.m. Central Time. Just about, an hour, 15 minutes away. That'll be there. It'll be on Fox Sports Oklahoma, and it should be on in the Lubbock and 806 area. But, Tobias, before we get into the game preview, we got to talk about today's sponsor of the podcast. That's Two Docs. We've been mentioning them for the past, seems like forever. These are our guys. I mentioned it last time we had a podcast just a couple of days ago. I went to Two Docs, and I got to see JC, talk to him, said he loved what we were doing, loved everything, and he had a great response from the Guns Up Nation. We really appreciate that people are actually going out and listening and, actually using this promo code, saving themselves a little bit of money. You know what I mean? This is a great place to get great beer, live music. Even Tobias doesn't drink beer, but I bet he drink beer from Two Docs. Great food trucks. I know he'd be eating the food from Two Docs. The food trucks, that's for sure. But this is a friendly environment down there at Two Docs. It's located at 502 Texas Avenue. You got to go check them out. But if you can't go down to 502 Texas Avenue in downtown Lubbock, head over to twodocsbrewing.com. Use the promo code GUNS UP, all caps, and every order you have of $49 or more, you will get free shipping. Again, if you spend over $49, you will get free shipping when you use the code GUNSUP. Again, use the code GUNSUP and get free shipping on orders of $49 or more. Go see our friends down at Two Docs and support local business and tell them Guns Up Nation sent you. Tobias, let's get into this damn preview, because Texas Tech should be 2-0 right now, if we're being honest. They're not, but hey, it happens. We talked about it a little bit on the last podcast. You can go check that out here on the Facebook page as well. And if you're listening on the audio version, be sure to go check out Guns Up Nation on Facebook. Tobias and I talked about it a little bit, but let's get more in depth, Tobias. What are the 3 key factors to this game for you, for Texas Tech to come out of Manhattan with their first victory in the Little Apple since 2008?
Composure. We usually don't play well there. I don't know how much fans are going to be there, if there's going to be any at all. But I think composure. Also, scoring, don't turn the ball over. This team, they've caught, I think, 4 interceptions this year. I think they forced
plus 4 fumbles. Turnovers.
Yeah, they definitely force a lot of turnovers. So I think you're going to have to be, careful with the ball. They're going to have to be tough. This team is tough. They were down to OU on the road. they could have easily packed that game in and lost. But this, they came back and beat OU. That team was projected to potentially go to the playoff. So this team's going to be tough. So if you go up 10 or even a touchdown, you're going to get there. They're going to come out there firing. They're going to come out. They're going to be tough. I think they're well coached. They're a tough team. That's always how they've been. So I think those are my three things: composure, toughness, and just trying to be mistake free.
Yeah, mine is you got to come out fast. You got to hit K-State in the mouth quick and in a hurry. You talked about that OU game a little bit and what they did and they not backing down. Spencer Rattler was a Heisman candidate. I mean, shoot, you look at the quarterbacks that have played at Oklahoma the past 3 years, all of them have been in the top 2 or they've won the Heisman. So when you look at that, first of all, hats off to K-State. That was a hell of a victory. Down 21 points in Norman. Mm-hmm. You don't pack it in like you said, and you come back and you hit the number 3 team in the country in the mouth at their home place. Good for you. That's a program-defining win right there. Yeah, but for me, if Texas Tech, you mentioned it, they don't play well in Manhattan. They just don't, And the last time that they played well was in 2008 when they won. And so when you look at what Texas Tech, in my opinion, has to do to go in there and win, first of all, you talked about it, turnovers. I think turnovers are critical. Bowman had 2 interceptions that you and I could have made those throws. There was no read to it. He just kind of picked one guy and he maddened it. And sometimes where you're running that vert route and you're like, I don't care if there's triple coverage on, whoever it is, Jamar Chase or, Julio Jones or whatnot. I'm throwing it up. I don't care, right? You're just doing it. And that's kind of what he looked like with Vasher. I don't care if there's 3 guys around him on this comeback route. He's in Bermuda Triangle, bro. You don't throw that ball, but he did. And so I think that's really the big one is definitely turnovers. Obviously, I said come out fast. And then what I really want to see Texas Tech do, and this is because the other 2 teams that Kansas State has played haven't been able to do it. I want to see if they can, assert themselves in the run game. You look at what Kansas State has done. They really hampered Oklahoma last week in terms of the run game. And then in Arkansas State, I mean, their corners got beat, don't get me wrong. But they kind of limited both teams here to limited amount of rushing. You look at Arkansas State, they go out there in week 1 against Kansas State. They beat them 35-31, and they had 159 yards rushing. But there was a couple of big plays that they had, did the Red Wolves. So then you go to Oklahoma. You're like, okay, Oklahoma, they're not with their best running back who opted out of the season right now. That shouldn't be an issue. But they only rushed for 130 yards. Usually Oklahoma, with that big physical offensive line, Tobias, they can really do whatever they want in the run game.
But what weirds me out about this, I'm looking at their stats. They're a very weird offensive team. So their leading rusher has 92 yards.
Yes.
We're only two games in, but that's weird to me. Maybe I'm
well, considering Kansas State is usually a running team, yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, that's very weird. I mean, Thompson, I feel like he's been there forever. I don't know. I just feel like he's been there like 8 years.
No, he's definitely the Perry Ellis of Big 12 football.
Yeah, I feel like he's just been there so long. But nonetheless, he's 3 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. He also has 3 rushing touchdowns, but he only has 17 total yards. He has 16 rushing attempts, 17 rushing yards, but he has 3 touchdowns.
Sure, there's some sacks in there, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, for sure. There's some sacks in there for sure. But he likes to, move around a little bit and extend plays and things like that. But they're a very weird offensive team. I think it's just because they force so many turnovers, they get the ball at good field position, and kind of there you go.
Yeah, for me, the guy that and you can talk about him too. It's Deuce Vaughn. If Texas Tech wants to win, they have to contain him. This guy is a Darren Sproles type guy.
Yeah.
He's their leading rusher with 92 yards. Tobias talked about him. And then he's also their leading receiver with 153 yards. Tobias gave a lot of these stats out there. And Deuce Vaughn, he did have half of his receiving total come on a 77-yard long reception. But you look at them, they're only averaging and not Deuce, but the Wildcats, they're only averaging 2.4 yards a carry.
Yeah,
they're really weird.
Yeah, they're weird. That's weird to me.
Well, I mean, you just look at it, good for them. They're not turning the ball over very much in the grand scheme of things. There's no interceptions for this club right now. They're sure tacklers, definitely, on their defense. The thing is, for me, obviously, when you talk about K-State, you have to take away Deuce Vaughn. That's the problem, though, is who's going to be that second guy that steps up. You think it would be Chabastin Taylor. That's their star wide receiver on the outside, who's averaging 23.8 yards a reception. Ridiculous. But also the guy that he really likes, Thompson does, and you hear this a lot, with young QBs, Tobias, that they always love their tight end. Well, we just talked about it. Thompson's been there since, as long as Perry Ellis was at Kansas, it feels like.
He probably still there.
Yeah, well, yeah, we can't confirm or deny that Perry Ellis still has eligibility. But Briley Moore is their tight end. He has 10 receptions. He leads the way in receptions. He almost has a third of their receptions this year for the Wildcats. He has 85 yards, but it's just a dink and dunk guy. So he's kind of this, Jason Witten security blanket for Thompson. Really what I want to see is, especially on the outside for the defense, obviously I think you have to put one of those guys like a Merriweather or, a Rico on Thompson, because Thompson can run. He was a little bit injured and hobbled the first couple of weeks. But what I really want to see, and this is going to be the key point on defense for me, is obviously you're going to have that spy on Thompson. But how do you guard and who gets a majority of their reps against Vaughn? Because he lines up as a receiver. He lines up in the backfield. Do you want to put, a Zach McPherson type guy on there, or a Leggett type guy? Or how does this work? Who do you want on there? Because I don't feel comfortable with a Boyer Randall on him. I don't feel comfortable with a Schooler on him. Do you put a Leggett on him? Where do you think Texas Tech goes with that?
Me personally, how Leggett was hitting last week, I want him in run support personally, because I feel like every other play he was just busting somebody down. But he was. I don't know what got me, because I know him personally. I'm not here. I've never seen him hit like that. I didn't know he could do that personally. I'm telling you, I didn't know he could do that personally. But I think I want him in run support. Maybe you do put someone out there like I don't know. Maybe you put Monroe. I don't know. It has to be someone that can cover, because there's someone that can cover and can tackle. I know I'm asking for a lot from Tech's defense, but Vaughn is one of those guys. We talk about this a lot in the Big 12. If you don't tackle him immediately, you're going to have a problem.
You're done.
Yeah. You're done. And you need to tackle. I mean, as soon as he catches the ball, you need to have a couple of hats around him. You need to tackle him immediately. Maybe Monroe can kind of maybe shade to that side. Leggett, I think, will be fine. I think Leggett will be fine, but someone has to be able to tackle him immediately.
I wonder, because there's been rumors now that DeMarcus Fields will come back for this game. I don't want DeMarcus Fields on him all the time, but I wonder if that helps in the sense of like what you're talking about, where DeMarcus Fields does have some safety experience, right? So maybe they can move Monroe down and just kind of like use him as a spy against Vaughn, because, again, you mentioned this as well. You have to have a hat for a hat, and then on Vaughn's case, he's so shifty, you might want two hats to one hat. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think those are the two guys. Now let's switch over to the Texas Tech offense, Tobias. We saw what happened with K-State in week 1 against Arkansas State. Arkansas State had a wide receiver score 3 touchdowns, basically got himself drafted that night. The crazy part is Arkansas State the year prior had 2 guys go to the NFL from their team, and this guy, and I'm talking wide receivers here. So, it was one of those things where it's like, okay, well, that's interesting. And then, they're going to, get beat because, they're going into Manhattan and stuff, and then they surprise them. But really, you look at it and you just look at everything that they've done. And I mean, Adams Jr. just absolutely dominated for the Red Wolves. He's a taller guy. You see the resemblance on, his height and everything. He's 6'3", 222. They have problems with bigger wide receivers. I think Erica Zakama, as well as TJ Vasher, have a field day with K-State because their tallest corner is 6'1". It's kind of a similar Texas situation where they don't really have much size on the outside, and we remember what Ezekama was doing as well as TJ Vasher. It's just, does Tech capitalize and finish the game out on this one? Yeah,
I agree. They do have shorter corners, but what I'm interested to see is are they going to start blitzing him early and often like we saw last week against Texas when they started bringing pressure, or when their dean was able to get pressure. Bowman started, getting such with the football. He kind of was just throwing ducks pretty much for the most part. Kansas State, I think they have 6 sacks on the season, so I want to see if they're going to start bringing pressure early and often. Is that going to be the story of what Bowman's season is going to be like? Because you see when he brings pressure, and Texas, keep in mind, Texas, they only had, I think, 2 sacks coming into their game. So I think if teams are going to start bringing pressure, are we going to start seeing that not only from Kansas State, but teams going forward? Because he has talent. I mean, he has one of the best running backs in the Big 12. He has several good, receiving options. But if teams are to bring in pressure, how poised and composed you're going to be. And they do bring pressure. We've been talking about this and harping on this for so long. If teams are to bring pressure, this is where I think they need to start using the tight end more. He can just be that dink and dunk guy, girl. They're going to be sending guys. He needs to be sitting right there in the middle of the field, just throwing it to him. So Bowman won't get blasted, and that guy can get, he'll be another option.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing that's kind of surprised me, especially in this Yost offense, is you remember when he first got hired, they said that the tight end was going to be utilized more. And I thought he would be utilized more this year because, kind of as you mentioned, the offensive line has done a pretty solid job. They definitely haven't been great by any means. But you're right. When Bowman gets pressure in his face, his first reaction is just throw it high and, oh, my God, I hope T.J. Vasher's there. Well, just give him the dink and dunk option like you're saying. 3 yards is much better than an interception. Or an incomplete pass to Kuntz is a much better job than an interception, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how they do that because, again, I've been harping on it all year, Tobias. They got to use the middle of the field more. And this would be an opportunity for them to do that, especially when there's pressure in their face. Now, I will say this. It's going to be a little interesting to see how the offensive line does shake up. Don't know who's all back this week, especially with the way Texas Tech has been kind of, I wouldn't say secretive, but they've kind of, kept injuries under wraps, especially with COVID, which is completely understandable. It's going to be interesting to see if they have everybody back on the offensive line this week in terms of who were projected starters, or is that left side going to look a little different? And if it does that impact Bowman and the game plan in terms of getting the ball quicker out of his hands?
Yeah, because the key question for me is if this is with any team, but if they can get, pressure without blitzing, that's going to be scary.
Oh,
because, because not only is he getting pressure, now you're just in a whole different type of – so I need the offensive line. They're going to try to do the best that they can. But I think they need to start using Townsend more, and they need to start using tight ends. But one of them needs – obviously Thompson as well. But one of those 3 guys needs to be that dink and dunk guy. Maybe you want to have Thompson blocking and have Townsend like a little – him just like a little 2-yard out. He just turns around and catches it. Maybe the tight end could just be on a drag or something across the field. But I think they need to start using them more because those little tunnel screens – I don't know why I feel like we invented the tunnel screen. I'm getting tired of seeing those. They don't really work. It's kind of like because to me when we do it, it's automatically second down and like 9. Like that didn't do anything.
Sure.
Like it's pretty much a waste of a play, and it's just it's like a selfish thing. It's like we're gonna get him 10 completions this game strictly off of tunnel screens. Like okay, he has 10 completions for 11 yards. Like what does that mean? Like I don't. Maybe one of them breaks for 2 yards. It's like, ooh, did it work? No, let's run something else. Let's do something a little bit different.
What's crazy looking at K-State's stats, they're 1-1, right? And they have a top 10 win under their resume. But they allow more points defensively than they score offensively.
Okay.
So they've allowed 35 points a game and only scored 34.5. The funny thing is Texas Tech is 1-1 as well. They've allowed 48 points and have only scored 45.5 points per game.
What's the over-under on this game?
The over-under is 64. I am taking over.
Yeah, I'm taking the over for sure. I'm definitely taking the over.
Yeah, I am taking the over. I'm not saying for sure, but I think it's going to be close. I think they probably get to like 70.
Yeah.
I think this game is going to be in like the 38-31 type range in terms of victory, something like that. But let's get that prediction, Tobias. So you look at the line right now. Kansas State is favored by 2.5 points. 59% is taking Kansas State to cover, which is an interesting total. The money line is plus 110 for Texas Tech. The over-under is 64. They're going up to Manhattan, Tobias, looking for that first win in the Little Apple since 2008. Do the Red Raiders get it, and why?
Are there going to be fans there?
There is going to be fans. I think it's 25% capacity. At least there was in the first game when they played Arkansas State.
I don't want to do it. I'm going to pick Tech. I'm going to pick Tech. I'm going to pick Tech to win. I'm not confident about it. I think they're going to go up there and beat Kansas State. I think the score will probably be 41-38 Tech.
Okay, give me the player of the game.
The player of the game?
Mm-hmm. Defensive and offensive. Let's do that. Let's have some fun.
Okay. Well, okay. Offensive, I want to pick Thompson. Maybe they can run the ball on him a little bit. Maybe he can make some play. I feel like it's not a cute pick, but if I'm
That's
probably
a
going to pick
tough pick,
Thompson.
especially since Oklahoma couldn't do it. But hey, I like the
Yeah,
confidence.
I want to pick him. And then on defense, um, I'm probably gonna go with your guy, Merriweather. I love him. I like him a lot.
I've been telling you.
He's gonna he's gonna make an NFL team very happy in a couple of years. But I'm gonna probably pick him. I think he's gonna have to be that guy that's gonna have to come down and tackle Thompson because he likes to extend plays and kind of run around a little bit. I think he could be that guy that can come down and tackle him in open field because we're gonna have to have someone that can do it. So I'm gonna pick Thompson on offense and Merriweather on defense.
Okay, I'm kind of in the same boat. I actually told you my score earlier. I'm going to say 38-31 Tech. And the reason I'm going to say that is because I have no research behind this, but it feels like every time a team, as my dog throws down his bone right now, and just pure frustration of me talking into a microphone for an hour, it seems like every time that a team has that kind of win where they go into a top 10 team, there's a huge letdown the next week. Maybe there's a huge letdown for Texas Tech. I mean, shit, they should have won that game. But really what it comes down to for me is I think this defense figured something out last week. And I know a lot of people would laugh at me and will laugh at me when they hear that. But this defense played a lot better than people think. 300 total yards of offense before the final 3 minutes. Now, give credit to Texas, and you got to, at the same time, knock Texas Tech's defense for just playing prevent. Coach Patterson has already taken credit for that. We talked about that in the earlier podcast this week. So when you look at what Texas Tech did, that's super impressive. So really what I'm going to look for is, okay, Kansas State really has 3 weapons. We talked about them already, right? You got Taylor, you got Vaughn, you got Moore. I'm going to think that one of those linebackers for Texas Tech, maybe it's Merriweather, maybe it's Jeffers, helps not eliminate Moore, but, contain him. That's the tight end. Vaughn, maybe it's Monroe. And then you have Taylor. That's going to be the problem, is the guy on the outside, Taylor, right? I would assume Adrian Fry or Zach McPherson's going to be on him. Yeah. I'm going to probably take Adrian Fry, who is going to be my defensive player of the game. I think he has a pick this week, and I think it's going to be a huge one that kills a drive for Kansas State, and then Texas Tech goes down and scores and gets a 2-possession lead in the range of 10 points. Because Adrian Fry, he's just too talented to be playing the way he's been playing lately. He is. Everybody remembers his freshman year. He was great. He was an All-American. He just hasn't been that. Last year, he played safety because the team needed him. He was out of position. This year, he's back at corner, and he's shown flashes, but he just hasn't been the Adrian Fry we saw as a freshman. So I think this is the week he kind of gets back on track and really starts being that Adrian Fry that he was as a freshman. On the offensive side, you already know who I'm going to pick because I've been talking about him on Twitter for the past 2 weeks and how he needs to get the ball in his damn hands more, Yost. If you watch this, give him the damn ball. It's Keyshawn Carter, okay? If Keyshawn Carter does not have 100 yards in this game, I will personally go down to Yost and just ask why until it happens. Like, I will be that guy. I mean, it's just insane to me because we talked about it again on the earlier podcast. He's been targeted 18 times, Tobias. He's got 16 passes. You need to put the ball in his hands more, man. He's a track star. This guy was running the 60-meter dash for Texas Tech track and field, and he was winning races. He wasn't just there. He was winning, right? So, and he's so slippery. A fish is more, has more friction on it than Keyshawn Carter. Okay? I just don't understand. Give him the ball more, utilize the middle of the field, utilize Kuntz. I would love to see Townsend running some Texas routes or angle routes and confusing them instead of running that outside like you were talking about, the sweeps. Cut back inside, and you got that linebacker on its heels, and Townsend with his 4.5 speed, you don't know what could happen, right? So I'm going to say Keyshawn Carter's the player of the game. I think he goes for 7, 120, and a TD. For Texas Tech, and I think Texas Tech wins 38-31, a nail-biter through and through. Wouldn't have it any other way if you're a Texas Tech fan.
Yeah, my second pick on defense was Fry. I think that he does get an interception or he forces some type of turnover this week as well. But, you got Carter, he needs to touch the ball. I mean, he's a track star. I mean, every time he touches the ball, something crazy is going to happen. And like I said, you can't say Bohm doesn't have options. You have Vasher, you have Easy, you have Carter. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks wish they had that type of talent around them. So I think that Bowman, it really comes down to Bowman. They're going to bring pressure. He has to just be, poised. Don't panic. You don't have to go for the home run every time. Get singles. You don't have to go for the home run play every single time. And that's what got us in trouble last week.
If you keep hitting singles, my coach told me this when I was playing baseball. If you keep hitting singles, eventually you have to cross home.
Yeah, eventually.
It might take you 4 times, but you gotta cross home eventually. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Again, we're going to have the post-game show on the Facebook page. Casey Cowan will join me. Hopefully he won't be at a Nelly and Snoop Dogg concert. Did you watch that last week, Tobias?
Yeah, Nelly and Snoop Dogg concert.
Yeah. Casey was doing the post-game show at a Nelly and Snoop Dogg concert in Lubbock. They were in Lubbock last weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
Nelly and Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that. Who put this on? Who?
I don't know. I forgot. I think it was like a local radio station or something. I could be wrong.
Wow, they got Snoop in the 806. Wow, I know Nelly probably needs the money, but Snoop, I didn't think that Snoop would have done that.
Yeah,
Wow,
Snoop was out there.
Damn it, wish I was there, but okay.
Apparently it was a good time. But yeah, we'll have Casey Cowan on the post game show. I'll be on there with him tomorrow. You can come over and give us your instant reaction over on the Guns Up Nation Facebook page. Again, he's Tobias Bass. You can follow him at Tobias_Bass. On Twitter, you can follow me at RCMB323. Just got an update from Texas Tech Volleyball. They do lose to the number 13 team in the country, 3-1, up in Ames, Iowa. Yeah, go ahead, Tobias.
Oh, and fans, be patient with the MAC thing. I've been seeing them get a little bit more rowdy as the days go on. I get it. We all want to see him play. I really want to see him play too, but be patient.
The NCAA is going in order.
Yeah, the waiver. Yeah,
the waivers are going in order. People just look at when it happened, when Burton happened, and then look who happened after Burton and how long Mac was down the line. But I keep telling people, because I keep getting texts. I'm sure you do too. Hey, is Mac going to play this year? Or when are they going to approve him? Like, listen. You and I have talked about it. They got more important things to worry about, first of all, like the schedule. And then second of all, it's going in order. You just have to stay patient. They're releasing about, 5 a week?
Yeah.
It seems like 5 important ones a week, I should say, like big ones or bigger ones. So I would assume, again, we've told y'all for a while, I bet you this is done by mid-October.
Yeah.
And if it's November – and it's not done, you can panic.
Yeah, you can panic.
You can panic at that point. But I would assume this is going to be over by – I would assume they announce it between October 13th and October 17th.
Yeah, that's a good date.
I think it's going to be in between there.
Because they're still trying to figure out, scheduling and things like that too right now. So they're dealing with a lot. Because they even have to, work with universities individually because, 76% of schools will be out by, Thanksgiving, but the rest of it, they're not going to be out. 24% of schools are still going to be in school. So, what do you do for those kids? They're probably trying to figure that out as well.
Yeah, there's a lot to do right now. In terms of certain bubbles. I saw a university. I forgot who it was. It's in the South. They're going to have their own bubble and have 4 teams come in there and play in their own little tournament, and it's going to be like a bubble situation.
Okay.
So that's going to be interesting. But, just stay patient on Mac. It'll happen. We'll hear the news. And if it doesn't, you can freak out at the NCAA again. But, again, he's Tobias Bass. You can follow him at Tobias_Bass on Twitter. I'm RC Maxfield. You can follow me at RCMB323. Be sure to go follow Guns Up Nation on the Facebook page. Got a lot of great content coming out there. And be sure to go interact with us tomorrow on the Facebook page when you got the post-game show and Casey Cowan joining me to talk about hopefully a Texas Tech win. But we'll see how that goes. Tobias, what was your score again?
It was 41-38.
41-38. Tobias got a Tech win. I got a Tech win, 38-31. Again, he's Tobias Bass. I'm RC Maxfield. We'll catch y'all next time, guys. And as always, be kind to others and wear a mask.
Thanks for listening to the Guns Up Nation podcast. The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the podcast hosts and do not reflect the opinions of Texas Tech University or its affiliates. Visit our website at gunsupnation.com for more Texas Tech news. Thanks again, and Guns Up.